incredibly faithful to the source. It's handling one of the deepest, richest, and most challenging experiences currently found on the console. Though not a full-blown sequel, this standalone follow-up sends Peter Parker on vacation and leaves his young spider apprentice Miles Morales to look after New York. Building on the rock-solid foundations of Insomniac's first game, New York has been gorgeously blanketed with snow, holiday cheer, and next-gen polish. Our hero has a few more spider powers at his disposal than Peter Parker did, and these are cleverly adapted into new gameplay mechanics that, while they don't reinvent the wheel, they put enough of a spin on it to make it feel fresh. Sometimes literally thanks to the DualSense controller. It doesn't feature as lengthy of a campaign or as many colorful villains as 2018's Spider-Man, but Miles Morales' story has just as much charm and heart as its predecessor, possibly more. Its tagline of Be Greater set a high bar, but Miles Morales somersaults over it with ease. Those are our favorite games to play on the PS5 so far, but we'll be updating our list as more release this year. For everything else PlayStation, stay right here at IGN.
You ever feel like you're just waiting for a sign? To do that thing you've always meant to do?
Oh, this looks good.
Sometimes I feel like I'm just standing on the edge of doing great things. But something's holding me back. Maybe it's just nerves. Maybe it's the fear that...
Hey, okay, Jamie.
I'll
Hello.
never be as good as what I imagine. When I'm still just standing on the edge. But if we've got nothing else to lose, might as well jump.
Spider-Man PS5.
Captain, I've got eyes on a Fisk construction site and their equipment's covered in dust.
Just there for show?
That's my bet. I'm gonna take a closer look.
Hey, Benchy.
Hate this crap! Keep them on the ground or we don't stand a chance.
PlayStation.
Hello, everyone. You know, it's hopefully they'll have some games that a lot of people have been hoping to see a remake or brand new of. Good.
PlayStation.
Hmm. Ew, crazy demons. Ooh.
PlayStation.
Remedy love time. Bullet, travel, or otherwise. In Control, you again can defy the laws of physics and even time itself. But the last gen Northlight engine was a hungry hippo on those base consoles. Now that brand new hardware has landed in the SX and the PS5, the shackles are off for some unbridled ray tracing or 60 FPS action. Or just one of those on the S. The question is though,
No,
how much
Shauna?
pain for that gain? Let's find out. The three consoles in question all have one mode in common, a performance mode that targets a buttery smooth 60Hz update. Double that of all console releases prior. The Series S comes in with a 1600 by 900p target resolution, fixed and not dynamic from all accounts. Now unsurprisingly, ray tracing is not possible here, largely due to memory constraints. Both the X and the 5 stretch their pixel pouches to 2560 by 1440, again appear fixed in both modes. Using Northlight's temporal A8 reconstruction, it pushes that up to that 4K output, and we first saw this temporal A8 in Quantum Break, but here, like other parts of the engine, it has been updated or tweaked for that next round of hardware. It has a great deal of weight to carry thanks to the game's art style and its strong specular highlights, contrasting tones, thin lines, and abundant SSR or ray traced reflections. It delivers a confident equilibrium of maintaining texture detail sharpness but reducing the sub-pixel temporal stability, even in movement, something you do a great deal of. It's not the best we've seen, with some areas becoming quite noisy and they can break up worse on the Series S. That reconstructed nature of the trace reflections can be noticed here in photo mode or just looking at it in glass. You notice that delayed trail as you move the camera, and that resolution breaks down to its base, and then when you stop it catches up and that previous frame converges with the current frame into a fuller, cleaner object. Something similar in the rasterized image also that uses that temporal AA to reconstruct the image back up to 4K. The ray tracing is very effective. with an excellent combination of surface normals, microfacet distortion, with a good roughness.
Shanna, we're kind of doing the same thing, or everyone doing the same thing?
Something the lower ray trace reflections on consoles can actually help with at times, making the surface look more realistic with a little rougher, more diffuse surface level than the higher, shinier level on PC.
That's a little harsh.
With better quality ray trace reflections. But even the
really pretty much doing the same thing
in transparent reflections is factored in, with oblique glancing angles heightening her reflection and then fading away into the objects behind as that angle of incidence is reduced. They look great, and the BV-8 structure does hold a great deal of objects. These are all dynamically allocated at certain sector points, it seems. The curvature of objects is also factored into the reflection, giving accurate distortion. You can see this on chairs, bins, and every reflective surface that has a specular level above a certain roughness reflects everything around, and this helps with things like bounce lighting or the colour of the floor bouncing up on tables and metal legs and chairs. Now these can be cooled within a shorter range of the camera frustum and occasionally are loaded without a base albedo map within, but these are rare on the objects within the BVH. The blend of the reflective surface diffuse colour also factors into that reflection, which all adds to the excellent physically based materials the game has. Ray tracing simply adds a great deal to these moments when you have time to notice. I must note though, the SX has some issues on that BVH level, being lost when it appears to be frustum aligned, causing your character to disappear at points or flutter past like an 80s pop video. Minor, but it is present. I tried this on the PS5, but this never occurred. So it seems to be specific to the DXR API the Xbox uses and not an inherent Northlight engine issue. I also tested this on PC, and the other issue you can notice here is you get dual reflections on the PS5 in these ray trace reflections on glass when there is two surfaces, the glass itself at the front and then those brass strips behind. So you get a double reflection in this mirror. You do not get that on the Xbox or even the PC version. So again, that does point to a little difference in terms of how they're utilizing that Northlight engine and the specific API that's being used on the PS5 around ray tracing. But generally, they are very similar across the board. And as you can see with the reflections here, the PC version on the same medium settings, which I've compared here with my RTX 2070 overclocked, so it's more like a 2070 Super. The level of detail, the draw distance of those BVH objects, everything is pretty much identical. The only difference is the PC version runs at a higher resolution, probably around double, but it's hard to spot in action when you're staring into the screen. That breakdown as the camera moves is obviously less apparent. And to wrap this section up, we can actually have a quick test using the photo mode for that ray trace reflections on the consoles. When you go to photo mode, it unlocks the frame rate, so we can see beyond that 30 FPS cap that this mode has. A quick test here in this room with high reflectance, lots of specular roughness levels and a large BVH grid of objects in the background gives us a little bit of a delta test. Don't take this as gospel, but it is a good test. What you can see here is that this scene, spinning the camera around in the same spot in this room, the Series X holds a locked 60, not dropping one single frame, whereas the PS5 can dip somewhere between 16% and 5% delta as the camera moves around. Now remember, this is not the same as playing the game. There's no dynamic objects, there's no explosions, there's no CPU load at all really, there's no data being streamed in and out, so it's not really indicative of how the game would look. But on a pure rasterization and then ray tracing level, it does give us a view under the hood in terms of how the hardware is handling ray tracing, and that's because more CUs and more TMUs, irrespective of clock speed, does point to the fact that the Series X should be better slightly at ray tracing, and this test proves it. But again, there's more to discuss around the APIs, the construction, and just how the ray tracing is working, but it's a good test nonetheless. Just as a quick comparison as well, comparing this to my 2070 Super, again on the same settings I can compare with consoles, again those reflections factored in, spinning the camera around in photo mode in the exact same spot. Then the PS5 is slightly faster than the 2070 Super, and the Series X is obviously faster than them both. So it does give you a good example of just how good these consoles are already at doing ray trace reflections across multi-platform titles like this.
Call me Jesse. Okay, Jesse, full lockdown. It seems to have spread everywhere and to everyone not protected by an HRA. And extraordinarily, you are the director, and that makes you special by definition. Trench is dead. Shot. Ah.
worth it though in comparison to the other modes' higher frame rate and much faster input times. And obviously on the S, this is all you've got. Well, it will depend on your preference. Once ray tracing is off, the game defaults to screen space reflections, which often seem more stochastic than the ray trace ones do, and they do not benefit as much from that TAA. In action though, it can be harder to notice the loss, with only certain points in the game which lack those decent cube maps to fall back on. These can stand out at times. Now instead the game uses sign distance fields, almost like a point cloud approximation of the surrounding geometry, and these blend with the SSR reflections on rougher marble floors or brushed metal doors, and they actually come close enough to convince. But when you need to check your hair and lippy, they do not hold a candle to ray tracing, obviously. And again though, like Quantum Break, like Combat, it really benefits from that 16 millisecond frame cost reduction, as do the input times. That 60 mode feels so much better than ray tracing mode, and at times I actually struggle to play over the 60 mode, as it may or may not affect you though. This might be different for you personally, but for me, I definitely felt the difference. Which nicely brings us into performance and how all versions stack up. Now, as noted, the last gen versions target the same 30 FPS the ray trace mode does, but with lesser effects and no ray tracing. The new ray tracing mode on both consoles is vastly better and cleaner, if not that much better on input times, but holding that 33 millisecond frame time pretty much all the time on the PS5, and it does that most of the time on the Series X, except there are those deltas coming from those streaming stutters when you move into new sector points rather than in gameplay, although sometimes it can happen as you're moving around the combat area. Now this is obviously largely helped by the PS5's I/O construction. It's alleviated workloads away from the CPU and that SSD. Something else the PS5 boost is almost half the install size thanks to Oodle texture compression. It only takes 25 gigabytes on your PS5 versus 42 gigabytes on both Xbox machines. Now all versions include the DLC pack as well, and this translates to a smaller footprint, hardly any stutters at all, or practically none, with minor ones, but they can crop up more often than I would like on the Xbox, along with slightly faster loading times on the Xbox Series X. Again, minor, but every little help. But as boring as that 30 FPS mode is from an analysis perspective, it's great news for us as we play. You do get these stutters in the 30 mode and the 60 mode on the Series X, and I'll touch on what I think is happening there in a minute. But the 60 FPS mode has slightly more to discuss, not least of which is that Series S version. The game itself targets 60 FPS, but again, it's not 1600 by 900, and it does appear to have some reductions in some of the textures and details.
Yeah, it's going okay.
Not a massive amount, but you can certainly notice it on cutscenes and certain parts when you're comparing them side by side. You can also notice the lower resolution, so it highlights the shimmer, the breakup, and that stochastic noise can get a little bit noisy at certain points, specifically at that lower resolution. On a 4K screen, it stands out much more than a 1080p one, but just be aware. But generally, it holds on to that 60 FPS very, very well. You can run through areas, and occasionally the stuttering is pretty much identical to the Series X, sometimes worse, sometimes better, but it's really synonymous of the entire game engine running on the hardware and how it's been constructed. The Series S is a pretty consistent 60. There are points when you can have long views, lots of geometry draw and alpha effects. That can then bring that frame rate down to a consistent 40 at some of the heavier points you can see on screen, but it never really prolongs for too long, and generally you're somewhere in those mid-50s, so it still feels very fast, very smooth and very consistent. And overall, it's a decent rendition of the game, minus those ray traced options, but it still has that most important for me, that 60 FPS mode. Moving into the Series X and the PS5, the comparison here again is pretty close. They have largely dip, occasionally very minor 33 millisecond skips into the next refresh cycle when explosions happen close on, or physics collide, or objects are very heavy in the screen, and that frustum is filled with effects, alphas and transparencies. That can cause a couple of dips down, but they're not that far apart in this fully rasterized mode. maybe ever so slightly better to the Series X, but you wouldn't notice it outside this comparison. The unfortunate thing, flipping the ray tracing test on its head, is there is consistent stutters and judders at points throughout the game. Again, consistent in when you traverse the game, when you run through it. Most of the combat sections, once they're loaded in, stay consistent at that 60 FPS. When you're traveling through areas, you can get these stutters you can see here, and that can bring the frame rate down to somewhere into the low 40s. It can be very brief and it judders as it goes through those sections, and again, this can be frustrating at times if you sometimes get it pounded on top of each other, and you feel it far more often than these 1 or 2 frame drops through.
I can hear you.
So it is the worst
Or see you.
because of the fact it dips down in these levels, which is a shame. But why is it doing this? Now, it's not because of that magic SSD, it's not because of all of those things that I've just spoke about in terms of the I/O construction specifically. Now, what I think it is an answer we can find over on the PC version. The Northlight engine is a very impressive engine. It's almost a perfect technical showcase of all the things the tech engineers want to push into a title. Ray trace reflections, huge physics, destruction, fluid-based simulation on alpha effects, so many particles and much more going on, that actually it's still a CPU-bound title often, specifically in those ray tracing modes, because that puts a much higher overhead on the CPU, but also in the game itself. It can be bound to one single thread. Not unknown, many titles are multi-threaded, but you have a worker thread that owns the rest of the game engine. And here on PC, you can see on my Ryzen 2700, just defaulting here to 3300, you can see it can max out 100% at times on one single thread. Now, unless Remedy have made drastic changes to this construction and single-threaded limitation, which I highly doubt in the new Northlight release here, then it's probably an issue that carries over to the console versions. But because of that PS5's construction and the fact that pretty much everything to do with moving data in and out of load of RAM is actually taken away from the CPU,
I'm all good.
lighter on that console than the DirectX version on Xbox, then likely these issues are not hitting it where they are hitting it on the Series X and the Series
I hope you
S.
guys are ready.
Brief
State of play is about to begin.
crop up when things are instantiated into RAM, objects are drawn in, areas are closed off for kill rooms, and that's a standard practice of engines to keep data moving freely in and out of RAM, and there is a cost to that. Now, bear it in mind that when you use ray tracing, that also increases the cost of the CPU. So that BVH grid, that construction of objects that are in different boxes that are then scanned when the ray tracing goes out from the screen, all of this has a factor on the game. So if we take the comparison earlier on the photo mode, that had no load on the game at all, just general ray tracing and rasterization loads. Perfect GPU test. And this is the thing about the game. It's a great example of how these two consoles actually differ and strengthen in different areas. You can lose 16, maybe 20% in that ray trace modes on the PS5, but you can lose exactly the same 16, 20% in these points when it's loading data in and out in combat. And it's quite refreshing to see a game that enables us to get a good view into the hardware and how it's constructed. But generally, that 60 FPS mode on all consoles is the one that I would choose. I'm not a big fan of the art style. I think it's a bit dull. I don't think it utilises the ray trace reflections very well, and it's one of the reasons why I wouldn't recommend the ray trace reflections for me, because I don't think they stand out unless you're staring into the screen and looking at them. But if you are a fan,
I'm just waiting for the thing to start, that's all.
Turn on based on our tests previously between the consoles and PC. I think a 1080-60 mode would be perfectly capable on both machines, with likely a very similar performance metric to that rasterization mode. But if you want to run around, shoot things, pick objects up, and then check your lippy, it might be the perfect compromise to get the most out of Control. If you like this and these deep dives into this performance analysis across consoles and that powerful PC, then obviously keep it IGN, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Alright, good. We're about to begin. Hold on, let's go to the actual PlayStation Direct. There we go.
There's some very unexpected developments in your future. Shocking events that will change the course of your life.
That last part might have been a hair dramatic. But there's lots of awesome updates and additions coming to the Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time experience.
I still need to get that game.
Hey everyone, I'm Lou Studdard, creative producer at Toys for Bob. I'm here to give you the feature rundown on Crash Bandicoot 4 on PS5. That includes 4K at 60 frames per second, adaptive triggers, 3D audio, and more.
Let's make this fun.
Picking up where Crash Bandicoot Warp left off, in Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, we find the evil masterminds Neo-Cortex and Dr. Entropy escaping a once-thought inescapable interdimensional prison, leaving giant holes in the universe. What follows is a mind-bending adventure for Crash and his marsupial pals. We designed Crash Bandicoot 4 to leap off your screen, brimming with bold, vibrant...
Well, not just PS5, it's also coming out for the Switch as well.
But wait until you see him spinning heads in native 4K at 60 frames per second. With the weight of the universe on your shoulders, and probably some errands to run, there's little time to wait on loading screens. The DualSense wireless controllers bring adaptive triggers to your fingertips, so you can feel the blast of Neo-Cortex's DNA-changing ray gun, or feel the grip when you grapple a ton's hookshot. Hold on tight when you feel the boost of Crash's jetboard, and really feel the suck when you vacuum his Dingo Dotto. Looking to get fully immersed in the Crash Bandicoot universe? Crank it up to 11 and take your audio into an all-new dimension with enhanced 3D audio. Achieving the infamous 106% completion is the sign of a true Bandicoot master. But should our genetically mutated marsupial lose his way?
Yep.
Leverage
Crash
PlayStation 5 activity cards to track your progress and hit your goals for things like time trials, flashback levels, and boss fights. I bet Entropy wishes he had that. Even bring your incomplete save over from the PlayStation 4.
Hello, Superior.
Use the
Welcome to the
activity cards
chat.
to get to 106%.
Well, stream.
Oh, and one more thing. If you own the PS4 version of the game, an upgrade option is available. Check out the PlayStation blog for full details. Whether it's your first playthrough or your 100th, there's no better time to experience Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time on PlayStation 5.
I still need to play that.
Welcome back, Crash. The gang's all here on today's new edition of State of Play. We've got some great updates lined up for you. First, let's check out the latest on an eagerly anticipated game coming to the PS5 console this spring from PlayStation Studios.
Hey everyone, we at Housemark are excited to give you this sneak peek at Returnal. In Returnal, you will play as Celine, an Astra scout, who crash lands on an alien planet, Atropos, after receiving a mysterious signal, White Shadow. Players will explore this inscrutable, dark planet in search for answers and unfold mysteries, which may point to a larger force at play. Dashing and quickly maneuvering your way above and around enemies is key to survival in Returnal. With the large variety of enemies and the vast number of unique movesets each possess, combat situations prove challenging no matter what the circumstances are. Death is only the beginning.
Oh, that's pretty scary.
Every time you die and restart, the world will change. The map will be different, enemies will appear in new locations and in differing numbers, so you have to think fast and adapt. Here you can see the use of the lightning alt-fire, which is great for crowd control. This is one of many alt-fires that you can acquire in the game.
I think it would like to get that game.
You will stumble across mysterious devices that can grant rewards to the player. These will vary from weapons, consumables, and upgrades, and they can completely change your playstyle and make each cycle feel unique. Besides the intense combat, Returnal also has a deep and engaging narrative. We allow players to piece together the puzzle that is the story of Celine as they venture deeper and deeper into Atropos and into her personal nightmare.
That can't be here. I think I am reliving my memories in that house, but not fully. They're corroded. Some parts are missing, others seem manufactured.
That's pretty scary.
Remember the torment, feeling like I was losing my mind. There's no comfort here. No safe space. Exactly as I left it.
Returnal lands on April 30th, and it's developed by the talented team at Housemarque. Next, let's take a closer look at a high-impact new PS4 game called Knockout City.
Knockout City?
Hi, I'm Josh from Bellin Studios. We're an indie developer based in upstate New York, and we recently announced Knockout City, a team-based multiplayer action game for PS4 where rival crews settle their scores with epic dodgeball battles. Knockout City is easy to pick up and play, but there's a lot of depth here for those who've got the skills. In our 1v1 face-off mode, you'll go head-to-head in a constantly shrinking battleground, relying on your reflexes and abilities to knock out an opponent. A well-timed catch powers up the ball, making it easier to land a hit. Use trick shots to lob a ball over a ledge or hook it around a corner. Fake a throw to mess up your opponent's timing and knock them out before they can recover. When you're in a tough spot with a ball flying your way, a last-second dodge is the difference between getting knocked out and staying in the fight. Keep your wits about you and outplay your opponent to win.
That's definitely not fun.
Let's jump into Team KO, our 3v3 mode. Teamwork makes the drops onto targets from far across the map, and wham! You can take them out before they have a chance to react. Beyond special balls, each map features a unique mechanic. In Back Alley Brawl, you can hop into a tube and make a quick getaway, or use them to sneak up on your opponents. Caught empty-handed? You can literally become the ball, a new weapon for your teammate. Or risk it all. Charge up a teammate, launch them high into the air with an ultimate throw, and they'll land in a huge instant KO explosion. The team here at Velen has been obsessed with building this world over the last 4 years. Knockout City is coming out May 21st, and we'd love your help in our final stretch of development. Rally your crew and sign up for our crossplay beta at knockoutcity.com to play early on PlayStation. See you soon, brawlers.
Indeed, see you soon. Alright, now for the next game.
Here's your first look at an upcoming PS5 game from the team at Slowclap.
Oh god. Freaking living crap out of him. Wait, did this appearance get changed? He's growing older and older by the day. Shifu.
That was the debut of Sifu, coming to the PS5 console later this year. Now let's get an update on Solar Ash, an epic new PS5 adventure from War Machine.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Preston, Creative Director of Heart Machine. You might know us as the team behind Hyperlight Drifter. Today, I'm here to show you the first peek at gameplay for our new title, Solar Ash. Solar Ash is a huge, stylish 3D platformer focused on speed, movement, and fluidity. The game is set inside a giant black hole, known as the Ultra Void, which has been consuming everything in its path. You play as Ray, a daring Void Runner who has decided to venture into this terrifying anomaly as a last-ditch effort to save her homeworld. Ray is extremely agile, able to speed across the world with abilities akin to skating. On the ashen clouds, she can quickly cover great distances in our huge world. At its core, Solar Ash is a game about movement, and Ray has everything she needs to flow through the dangerous and unique world. As you journey to save your planet, you'll find yourself face to face with grotesque and violent creatures. Our combat system is simple, fast, and fluid, built to empower players and encourage flow. As you explore the Ultra Void, enemy encounters will scale to greater and greater sizes. Some of these creatures require speed and precise timing to defeat. Ray will eventually need to face the massive sentinels of this void, wretched, starved beasts that hold the key to her quest.
And it's ever easy.
Solar Ash is Heart Machine's vision of the adventure platformer. The giant spaces, the feel of movement, the flow of combat, and the high-stakes battles atop enormous beasts all come together to bring players something we think is incredibly unique, and more importantly, fun. This game is a labor of love for everyone on the Heart Machine team. We're excited to bring Solar Ash to PS5 and PS4 later this year.
If you're a fan of scary games, this next one is for you.
When I first found you, you were
Yeah, FNAF Security Breach.
pathetic. But now, you are more. Are you ready?
Gregory, we can get you out of here. You and me together. They won't stop hunting you. None of them will stop hunting you.
And that's actually the first time I've ever seen gameplay of the game.
We have to get you out by morning.
You will do as I say. You will bring me what I want. And if you fail me, then you will. Both of you burn!
That is definitely scary.
There is more going on here than you realize.
Whoa, what was that?
That was a chilling new look at Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Up next, let's take a tour of Oddworld Soulstorm.
Hi, I'm Lauren Lanning, Creative Director at Oddworld Inhabitants. Today I'm going to take you on a brief tour of our newest game, Oddworld Soulstorm.
They've always known you would come. Do you know why you have?
In Soulstorm, you reprise the role of Abe, accidental hero turned unlikely leader of an emerging revolution, as you do battle through weird and wonderful environments in an effort to escape the all-powerful and eternally greedy Gluckins. We really wanted to bring this world to life with what we call 2.9D platforming, which adds much more depth and immersion for the player. This sense of connection is also reinforced through the use of the DualSense's haptic feedback, as you'll now be able to feel Abe's heartbeat in high alert and suspenseful situations. There are well over 1,000 fellow Mudokons that you must try to save along the way, but they are far more than helpless workers looking to be saved. When used effectively, you'll be able to solve puzzles, harness their combined energy, and be given the tools they need to fight alongside you. And there will be times when the extra hands will be needed as you face off against an array of heavily armed enemies that will stop at nothing to find and end Abe once and for all. In order to stand a chance against this much larger threat, we gave Abe the ability to scavenge, loot, and pickpocket items from his surroundings and use them to craft an impressive arsenal of his own that he can share with others. You can also play as a non-lethal pacifist or an agent of chaos. We wanted you to have the choice. But there is one iconic ability for our shamanic protagonist, Possession. This mystical power allows you to take control of your foes and use their strengths and weapons against them, or use them to gain access to paths still ahead. The Oddworld universe is a diverse place, and this means that there are some environments and situations that require a little more thought, patience, and stealth. You'll find dark and dangerous caves, heavily guarded industrial sites, and ancient forgotten lands. Here, we've built lots of opportunities for you to test your skills and find different ways to handle things. It won't be easy. If being hunted by an army backed by a shady and wealthy organization isn't bad enough, there are also more dangers in the forms of natural obstacles, ancient traps, trials against swarming dark creatures, and industrial hazards that must be dodged, crossed, and avoided. Ultimately, Abe's journey is one of hope, freedom, and truth. There's a rich and engaging narrative to discover in a world full of lies, and we've been able to bring our
I've never really played
in
this
true
game.
Oddworld fashion, your actions in-game will decide the fate of Abe and all those you manage to liberate along the way, and we can't wait to see what you will do.
That was the latest on Oddworld Soulstorm. And here's some exciting news. Active PlayStation Plus members will get the PS5 version for no extra cost starting in April. PS5 version for no extra cost starting in April. Moving on, it's time to catch up with Kena Bridge of Spirits, a gorgeous new adventure we last saw in the June PS5 showcase.
Ooh, look at the little guy.
The rats seem quite fond of you. They're usually timid. Something tells me you did not come to our village looking for forest creatures.
Hello, Spirit. I seek passage to the Sacred Mountain Shrine.
Our village is bound to the shrine's energy. But that power faded long ago.
Now this is the game I would love to play as well. I really need to get the PS5 in order to play it though.
Trapped spirits linger here, tangled in the tragedies of our past. You must help these spirits if you wish to reach the mountain shrine.
It's okay. You have to go now. This land can be healed, but you cannot stay here, Spirit. You must move on.
Whoa.
Path of the spirit guide is a lonely one.
Now let's settle in for a stylish new look at Deathloop, a PS5 first-person shooter developed by the team at Arcane.
Cole.
What?
You'll never, ever break this loop.
There's no never here. Just you, me, and the rest of these maniacs.
Bring it, baby.
This is Ramblin' Frank's Matinee. This little ditty goes out to the handsome asshole trying to break our loop. Colt, the visionaries are ready to dance. Are you?
Toxic illusion, falling deeper spiral time. Static delusion. This is where we do or die. And I've been here before, face to face with the gun, up against all the odds, and I'm the only one. Oh, I've been here before, it must be true. This is death.
Hello, Andy McKendrick.
Stay still for like a second. Die already! You're doomed. Somebody's stealing my team.
Looks like a really good game. Again, I need to get the PS5.
Where you been hiding? Boy, do I got a bone to pick with you.
Let's do it again tomorrow.
What to do when the bullet is the same, but the kill is always new.
Song's over, people. And so is Ramblin' Frank. The rest of you motherfuckers are next.
Well, dang.
Before we leave, how about a huge update for one of 2020's most celebrated games?
Hey, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Help me!
Now it's my turn. Got your legal force right here. A touching reunion.
Well, guys, your girl finally made it to Midgar.
Wait, who is that? Yuffie?
My name is Yuffie, Materia Hunter and Elite Special Forces operative for the new Wutai government. We'll prove to our common enemy that Wutai is not to be trifled with. Members of Avalanche, we got this.
I'm back.
Ah, there you are. Someone's been expecting you. What took you?
Sorry about that. Anyway, it's nice to meet you. I'm Sonon Kusakabe. Where's Clown?
We lost him.
You what?
He will be okay though, right?
Well, of course he will.
They're the ones who blew up the reactors. Cool. Should we say hi?
No, better not. After what they've done, you gotta assume Shinra's on their tail.
Look, a Moogle.
Stop!
We gotta help.
Okay, now I really need to get this game.
No freaking way!
Boss!
You guys should probably get moving.
Got it.
Whatever it is they're planning, you're better off out of it.
They deserve what's coming to them.
Yeah, they do, but I'm not your sister.
There you are.
Who are these jerks?
No clue. It just appeared.
Now, let the hunt begin.
Wait, what?
Down here, Bert.
Holy crap! And the music they have for this game is so beautiful. Crazy creatures, crazy robots.
You see that?
That's how ninjas do it.
Yep.
Okay, now I really need to get that game. I better start saving up.
That was the reveal of Final Fantasy
Hey,
VII
you,
Remake
kitty.
Intergrade, coming to the PS5 console later this year. And that's our show. We hope you're as excited as we are for what's to come in 2021. See you next time.
That was definitely surprising. You know what? I ain't gonna end it off here. Might as well continue playing some more Sonic Unleashed, I guess.
There we go. I'll just pause it right there. So, Crash 4 is coming. We know that's 4K, 60 frames per second. Then they went on, hey, Jacob, thank you so much for the super chat. Kina, he says. Well, I'll get to that. I think that might have been the standout showing here in this. Then they showed Returnal from Housemarque. And Returnal, of course, is a very different game than what Housemarque has made in the past. But it's really kind of cool to see Returnal being more than I ever thought it was. It looks really, really good. There were some sequences there that I was very much impressed with. After that came Knockout City. Whoa! Let me tell you, I saw you guys in chat. You guys called it. Yes, that is.
Yeah, give me one sec, guys. There we go. Maybe, yeah, if I can get through some of the parts, I'll probably switch over. Actually, you know what? Yeah. I was gonna do Sonic Unleashed, but you know what? Let's go to here all together with Sonic 06. Okay, what just happened? Yes, that actually hurt my ears a bit there.
Sega.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, Cameron, you're not wrong. I think it froze at this point. Give it a sec. Oy. Hold on. One sec, guys. There we go. Had some game and technical issues. There we go.
I have no words to express how grateful I am for your help. You're hurt.
It's nothing.
Don't say that. I'm It's all my fault.
Smile. Your smile. That's all I need. Eggman mentioned the flames of disaster. Is that why he's after you?
Yes. The name of the sun god our country honors is Solaris. It is told that Solaris's rage would destroy the world. His wrath comes in the form of the flames of disaster. 10 years ago, we almost faced the full force of his fury. I was a child then, so I don't remember it very well. I lost my father then. And now that man is trying to cause the same disaster again. What can I do? Sonic! Sonic! Wait! I can't run that fast!
Don't worry. Just raise your head and run. Feels great, doesn't it?
Yes. I've never run so fast before.
Nothing starts until you take action. If you have time to worry, then run.
Good as you can. Not going to stop you.
I've been looking for you. You're the Iblis Trigger. Your actions will condemn us all. Who are you? My name is Silver. For the future of the world, I will destroy you!
For his 5 code looked so bigger in 06 than
Time for you to disappear, Iblis Trigger! Yes! How about this? Take this!
I know what I need to do when it comes to fighting.
How about this? Take this! It's no use!
Oh, this isn't hurt.
Take
Yeah, ow.
It's no use!
I hate you, Silver!
It's no use! Take... How about this? Take this! It's no use! Take this! It's no use!
I hate you, Silver!
Now.
Got him.
Yeah.
Hey, Zoe.
Too easy. No sweat. Hey! Is this a joke? How could someone like you cause the destruction of our world? What do you mean? It doesn't matter. For the sake of the future, the Iblis trigger must be destroyed. Elise? Wait! Ha!
Seriously,
Don't
Thor.
you dare turn your back on me! It's time I finally put an end to this.
Stop!
Amy? Get out of my way, Amy. This is my mission.
Absolutely not!
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate it.
Leave it to me!
Reminder, guys. Yeah, if you want to donate, the link's in the chat pinned message. Oh, I got Sonic. That was totally not intentional. Huh. Welcome back, Miles. Alright, that's fine. Sorry, lady.
Huh?
Hey. Hey. Yeah, time to do the outreach mission to well, get to the freaking thing. Hey. Hey. Hey.
Yeah! That was incredible!
Yeah, guy, the horrible captain. Okay, cool. Later, Rondon.
Sonic, can you hear me? Knuckles wants to see you. Head to the town's warehouse. Yeah, cool. Mini boss fight. Taking down small labs for robots. But not gonna hit.
get done with it and get done with it. How do I beat? Here you go.
Just made it.
Go.
Knuckles.
I saw Eggman on the outskirts of the city. He wanted me to give this to you.
Sonic the Hedgehog. If you want me to return the princess, you must give me your Chaos Emerald. Meet me at my base in White Acropolis.
Huh. He's pretty cocky.
It's most definitely a trap. I don't think Eggman will honor his agreement.
I'm going.
Sonic?
Since Eggman went to the trouble of telling me where Elise is, I think I should thank him personally.
Alright, yeah, I think we're probably ended here. And I'll talk to you guys later. You know, after other time.